Hey, new realtors, I know we get really busy in our lives, especially if you're working a full-time job and you're doing part-time real estate or vice versa. It's really hard to keep on top of your buyer pool list. So I have a cool tip that I'm going to show you right after this about how to set up automatic emails to your potential buyers. And we'll cover that right after this.
Welcome to the tutorial on automatic emails. In this session, we'll walk through the process of setting up an automatic email event to check for updates to a search. There are several ways to begin setting up an automatic email. For this example, we'll begin on the search page. We have found that many users like to create a search and attach an auto email to a prospect directly from the search results screen, so that's where we'll begin today. From any search screen where you have entered some search criteria, you can set up an automatic email. Once you've set your criteria, click Save. Select the Save Search option. Begin by giving your search a name, or selecting the name of the search if you are editing an existing search. Describe your search in the search description box if you would like. Next, click the Save and Add Auto Email button. Begin by giving the automatic email a name. This name is a reference for you so that you can identify this email event in a list. Next, select if you would like preview mode on or off. If preview mode is on, the auto email will be sent to you to review the new listings. You will then decide which listings to send to the contacts associated with this prospecting event. Listings that you haven't approved yet are called uncurated listings. If preview mode is set to off, you will determine who should receive notifications of the new listings using the checkboxes. By default, the box is checked to notify you when the recipient first clicks on the link contained in the email. If you're saving the search for a new customer, click on the Add New Contact button and type in the name and email address for the new contact and click on OK to add the contact. If you are creating the search and email for an existing contact, click on the Contacts bar and choose a contact by clicking on them. Or you can type a contact's name into the contact bar and hit Enter when you see their name highlighted. Any new contact added will now appear in your contact management. Next, choose how often you'd like the system to check for new matches. You can set the system to check and send emails ASAP, daily, or as infrequently as one time per month. Select whether you would like to send the interactive view or printer-friendly report. The web page personal message is the text that will appear at the top of the page when your contact clicks on the link in the automatic email. Below, write a subject and compose the message that will accompany your automatic emails. Because the automatic emails are likely to go out over a long period of time, we recommend keeping the message body relatively generic and not making reference to time or season. Finally, select whether you would like to include an email signature as previewed below. When you are satisfied with your selections, click Save to save the auto email event. You will then be returned to the search page where you began. Now, let's take a look at another way to set up an automatic email. Go to the Contacts menu and select Contact Management. Select the contact you are setting up the auto email for, then click on their Searches and Auto Email tab. In the middle section of the right-hand side, you will see an auto email section. Any current auto email events connected with the customer will be listed here. To the far right, you will see an Add Auto Email link. Please note, you will not see this link if you don't have any saved searches associated with the contact. From here, you'll go through the same selections to set up the automatic email. By default, the contact that you selected in Contact Management will be the recipient of this email. You can also add a new contact by clicking on Add New Contact, or by selecting a contact from the Contacts bar. When you are satisfied with your selections, click Next to save the automatic email to the selected contact. You'll then be returned to the Contact Management page where you began. If your automatic email is set for preview mode, you can access your uncurated listings from the first tab in the Contact Management screen. Click Approve to send a listing to your contact. If there are multiple listings, you can select the listings you'd like to send by placing a checkmark next to them. Then click Approve at the top of the screen. Using the My Sent Emails gadget on the dashboard, you can keep track of how many automatic emails have been sent to your contacts and how often your contacts have clicked on the links in the emails. You may also keep track of all automatic emails that you've set up for all contacts by clicking on Automatic Emails under Contacts on your menu. You will see the auto email event name, attached contacts, and searches related to the event. Click on the Contact, Auto Email, or Attach Search to edit any of those options. Click on the red X to the far right to delete the automatic email. The system will continue checking for new matches and sending out automatic emails for a contact unless you remove the automatic email from the contact, remove the associated search from the system, or the contact opts out of receiving the email updates. If an automatic email has not been clicked on by a recipient in 90 days, the email will expire. This concludes the tutorial on automatic emails. Thank you.
Welcome back to Columbus Realtors MLS video training. In this section, we're going to be talking about listing entry, that is MLS Ad Edit, Part 3. So far, we've gone through and we've finished the first page of information and the address, and we've auto-populated tax data. Now we're going to go back to add change because I previously saved this listing as incomplete. You do not have to save a listing as incomplete during the process. You can finish the process, but I generally recommend you do, because if you save the listing as incomplete, then you can upload photos, and I showed you that in Part 2, where I saved the listing as incomplete and then added 5 photos, set a primary photo, etc. So I'm going to pick up from where I left off by hovering over Add Change. Just move my mouse over Add Change at the top left and then clicking on My Incomplete. Again, in the list, you'll see all the listings here with the addresses. I have agents in my office, so I can edit their listings as well. But down here at the bottom is the listing that I started the other day, and I want to finish it. Again, I click on the listing address as I started it, and I click on Edit. Now, if you want to remove this partially completed listing, this incomplete listing, you can do that. You can also print the listing, print the worksheet for the listing, the fields that are already filled in. But what I want to do right now is edit the listing and finish it and make it live. So we're going to go through, and I'm going to click on Edit. And this takes me back to the main incomplete screen. Notice this listing does not have an MLS number yet, and its status is listed at the top as incomplete. So I'm going to finish this listing. I'm going to click on listing information. Now, before I do, though, notice that it also has photos already. If I wanted to upload documents, I could click over here on documents and upload PDF documents to this listing as well. I could just simply go to Browse and find the PDF that I want to upload and click Open. So I just click on the PDF, or if I have multiple PDFs, I can go through and just add one at a time, click Open, give it a name. Maybe this is an RPD. And I click on Public or Private. Now, this is very important. Public means it is sanitized of any kind of branding. Agent name, agent telephone, agent email, broker telephone, broker email, broker logo. All of that is not allowed on the public version. That would have to be marked as private. Now, I'm going to mark this one as private because I just don't want it available to the other clients. Now, private is available to all agents. Public is available to the public as well. So be very careful there. If there's any branding of any kind or anything that should not go out to the public, don't mark it public. Mark it private. And that will only be available to the agents, and if the agent sends the listing to their client directly. So the agents and the individual agents' clients, but it will not go out to the public. That means the clients of other agents. It will only go out to the agents if it's private. That's what private public means. All right, so I'm going to click on Add, and it's going to upload that PDF. There it is on the left-hand side. So now I've added a PDF to my listing. I click on Return to Edit Listing at the top left-hand corner. And again, now I've got photos attached to the listing, I've got documents, but this listing is still incomplete, so I need to finish it. So I'm going to click on Listing Information on the left-hand side. When I click on Listing Information, that takes me back to the long edit form. And notice you've got the same tabs that we had earlier at the top of the screen. You have General, you have Address, you have Main Fields, you have Details and Export. We've already gone through General. This is where we auto-populated the tax record. Now notice I've already done this for this listing. Notice it says Load Tax Record, but I already did that. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Address, and notice it's already been done. And because you saved the incomplete listing, it did not show that it's already been done, but it has. That's why you can see that the county and the city and the state are already filled in. When in doubt, you can go through and click Load Tax Record, but notice it says right here on the screen, this is only necessary when entering a new listing, because you've already done it. If you go to the address screen, it's all there. If you go to the main field screen, all the information that you saved previously is still in the fields. So you don't have to auto-populate tax if you pick up an incomplete listing, as long as you already auto-populated the tax up front. And that's what we did in step 2, or excuse me, part 2 of this video series. So this is where we left off. We were on the main fields tab, and you can either click the next button at the bottom right-hand corner, or you can click the details tab at the top to move on to the next page. And that's what we're going to do. I click next, and now I'm going to go through the details tab. Again, red fields are required. And notice this red field requires between 1 and 12 items. Again, select all that apply. So if you've got short sale, you mark short sale. But notice you can't select short sale and unknown at the same time, because obviously if there's a short sale, there is an acceptance condition beyond just an arm's length offer of sale. So you can't choose both. In other words, you can choose none or you can choose short sale, but they are mutually exclusive. Now, some of these others though, online bidding or auction reserve or bank owned. Can you select multiple items? Yes, you can. So those, like estate, can be selected with other items, but just some of them, like short sale and unknown, are indeed mutually exclusive and should not be selected simultaneously. In fact, short sale and unknown cannot be selected simultaneously. So I'm going to put unknown. There are no additional acceptance conditions for this property. And then we'll talk about bedrooms. That is bedroom level, full bath level, and half bath level. Here's how this works. These level designations were designed with 5-level splits in mind, but not only for 5-level splits. This level structure that was created around, I want to say 2013 or about then, is when we switched over to this format. Now, here's how it works. Every property has an entry level. The entry level is the main entrance to the house. Now, sometimes there are 3 steps to get up to that entry level door, but either way, it's an entry level door. When you walk in the entry level, that is the entry level for the house. Now, if you think about a bi-level and you talk about the number of beds and baths and half baths on a bi-level, the answer would be 0, because when you walk in on a bi-level, you've just got a small landing and then you have to go upstairs or downstairs to get to any of the rooms. Now, on a ranch, everything is going to be on entry level. So, or unless they have a finished basement, then there might be beds and baths downstairs too. Point being, every property has an entry level. So you put the number of beds at the entry level. So let's say this is a 2-story property and there is a master suite or an owner suite on level 1. So there's 1 bedroom on entry level. And then you go up 15 stairs because it's a 2-story property, and you go up to the 2nd story. And now there are 3 bedrooms upstairs. Okay, so I put a 3 in up 1. Notice it's a 2-story property, but beds up 1. Because you went up 1 level of stairs. And that's the primary designation, is how many levels of stairs, how many staircases did you mount? Did you go up 3 stairs? That's 1 staircase. So that would be up 1. Now, if you go up 5 more stairs from there, or 3 more stairs from there, or 10 more stairs from there up to a 3rd level, then you'd be up 2. Remember, you're counting staircases. You're counting levels, not stories. All right, so in this case, it's a 2-level property. There's nothing on a 3rd level, so I put 0. In the beds up 2. Now in beds down 1, maybe again, you come into the entry level on a 2-story, you go down 15 stairs and you're in the basement. And there is a finished basement and they do have 1 bedroom down there. So I'm going to put a 1. Now you don't go down another set of stairs, so there's nothing in beds down 2. And I go on to the next field, which is full baths and the level. Again, entry level, you got full baths on the entry level. Let's say there's 1 full bath on the entry level, and then you go up 15 stairs, and there are 2 full baths upstairs, and then there's nothing above that because this happens to be a 2-story property. Now, again, you come in at the entry level, and you go down 1 set of stairs, and again, there's a full bath downstairs, so you put a 1. And then it's a basement, so there's nothing below that. There's 0. And that's all you have to do. Up, down, lower level. Now, I'm going to pretend on half baths level here that this is a 5-level split. So again, we're going to talk about the entry level. Now, let's say that the front property here is kind of on a slope, and you have to walk up 5 stairs to get to the entry level. You don't count those stairs. They're outside the house. The entry level is the entry level. So when you walk in on this 5-level split, there is a half bath at entry level. And then you go up 3 stairs, and there's a half bath up there as well. And then you go up 3 more stairs and there's a half bath up there as well. So realize it doesn't matter how many stairs you're climbing. It's your climbing staircase. You're talking about levels. So same thing. You walk in the entry level, you go down 1 level, there's no baths, no half baths. But if you go down another 4 or 5 stairs, 2 stairs, whatever, there might be another half bath. So you get the idea. Any amount of staircase, any amount of stairs is a level. So you're counting levels, not stories. Okay? Now, living room, lower, upper, etc. Living room, same exact thing. You walk in the entry level. Again, if it's a 2-story, then you might have a living room off to the left-hand side. So you put 1 living room, entry level. And then you go up 15 stairs, there's no living room up there. So you put a 0. Now, wait a minute. These are not required fields. Notice they're not in red. Yes, but what if someone searches for them and you didn't fill them in? This is another example of just because it's not required doesn't mean you should skip these fields. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in 0s for them and numbers where it's appropriate. The dining room, for example, this is a 2-story and the dining room is at entry level. So I put 1 dining room at entry level and I put 0s in the rest of the fields. And then I go to eating space. Maybe there's a little nook, eating nook in the first level here. So I'm going to put 0, 0, entry level. Yes, there's a little eating space. And I put 0, 0 for up and down. Family room, again, entry level. So I put 0 for up 2, 0 for up 1, entry level 1, 0, and 0 for down 1 and down 2. Great room, nope, not for this property. So I just put all 0s. Rec room, yep, actually there's one in the basement. So I'm going to put 0, 0, rec room entry level 0. Then I go down 1 set of stairs, down 1 level, and the rec room is located down there. So you get the idea. That's how you fill in all these fields. And you need to put in all of the fields that apply. So 0, 0, got 1 entry level, no utility room. Utility room is in the basement, so I'm going to put 1 and then 0. And then den, yep, there is 1. It's entry level. And now we're done with the up, down, lower level fields. Now let's talk about HOA COA. Now we selected HOA COA on the previous page, so that made these fields required. That is HOA COA fee includes. We said HOA COA yes, no. We selected yes. We put in an association condo fee, $500 per year or $500 per half or whatever it was. Now these fields are required because that yes selection was made. And so I'm going to go through and put in that the common area and the external building maintenance and the irrigation and lawn care, and I select all that are included in the HOA COA fee. Then I go down to the HOA COA info and I have to fill in the contact name. And so I type in John Doe, and that's, again, only an example. Put in the actual contact name for the HOA COA and the contact telephone number. And if you have an HOA COA transfer fee or reserve contribution, you can enter those. Those are optional. Scrolling down to parking type. Now, garage enclosed spaces we talked about in part 2, and that's where you enter the number of fully enclosed garage spaces. This is a parking description field. It's not a numeric field. So if you have a 5-car garage, you can select 5. But what if you have 2 2-car garages and 1 1-car garage? Well, then my advice would be to select all that apply here. And the reason for this is if someone searches for a 2-car garage, they're going to find only what they select right here in this field. Now, if they use the garage enclosed spaces, that's a numeric search field. If they choose 2 or more, or 3 or more, or 4 or more, they'll find it. But here, if they choose 5-car garage and you selected 3-car and 2-car, because that's actually what it has, they're not going to find you because you chose to search 5-car garage and that wasn't selected. So as a listing agent, I would select all that apply, and you might put in the description exactly what kind of parking it has. That way the public knows and the other agents can see what kind of parking is included. And certainly don't forget the additional things like heated and opener and on-street parking and common area and farm building. If there's a farm building that's being used as one of your fully enclosed garage enclosed spaces, mark that here. This is your description of the parking type. Okay, scrolling down. Basement, yes, no. Again, you simply choose yes or no. And just for the record, the basement does include crawl space. Even though it's not a livable basement, it is considered a basement type. So in the basement description field, once you choose basement, yes, no, you go down here and choose that it has a partial basement. And it has a crawl space and a partial, and it has, or maybe you say nope, it's actually a partial basement with a walk-up. Now you can't choose full and partial, right? Well, it won't let you. Notice if I choose full, it unchecks partial. And if I choose partial, it unchecks full because you can't have both. Now I'm going to scroll down. So I've got a partial basement and a crawl. That makes sense. With a walk-up. Okay. And I've got foundation type. You can choose block, poured, slab, or none. Now I'm going to choose, it has a stone. Nope. I'm going to go ahead and say it has a poured and block. Down. Exterior. Again, not a required field. So I'm just going to skip it, right? No, because what if someone decides they want cement fiberboard as their exterior, or they want, brick as their exterior? If you don't select them, they don't find you. Remember, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't fill it in and they search for it, you're not doing the best you can for your client. So make sure you fill in all that apply. Same thing with rooms. This one has a first floor owner suite, as I mentioned already. And maybe there's a den, non-basement, and maybe there's an eating space kitchen. So these are kind of a description of the rooms that are available. Fireplaces, same thing, not required, but you want to fill in that it has a gas log fireplace, and it has a log wood burning fireplace, and it has a wood burning stove. Okay, you select all that apply, and the number of fireplaces as well. Heating, you can put in any kind of heating, and again, fill in all that apply. And you go to air conditioning, and again, choose all that apply. You go to type of windows. You want to select all that apply here as well. And interior flooring. Now, you might say, well, some of these, wow, they really aren't that significant. Well, maybe. But, for example, look at interior flooring. If someone is really into the green thing right now, and they really want bamboo floors, or they really want to have renewable green flooring, and you don't select it, even though this property has it, the homeowner probably put a lot of money into making that renewable flooring. So again, put everything that applies to that property in these fields. Exterior amenities. Now, above ground pool, balcony, deck, fenced yard. Okay, they do have a fenced yard. They are an end unit. I go over here, I've got patio, irrigation system, screened porch. They have that. So again, select all that apply. Interior amenities. You have dishwasher, elevator, garden and soaking tub. You have a gas range. Now, are you indicating here that it has a gas range and the gas range stays? Keep that in mind. You're going to want to describe that in the property description. If it doesn't stay, you're going to have to say that too. Humidifier, microwave. Okay, these are some of the smaller things that you can say. Pool, refrigerator, etc. Complex subdivision amenities, very important. Basketball court. Clubhouse. Cluster patio home features. This is where you're going to identify those properties that are cluster homes. Fitness facility, golf club, pool, etc. These are complex pool versus the pool up in the interior amenities where it was the individual property pool. So again, you've got the exterior amenities, above ground and in-ground pool, but then the complex subdivision pool. Now understand those are different things. Okay, again, select all that apply for this property. Now here's a very important one. Accessible features right here. You simply check accessible features, and that's really all you do. Well, no, not really. Because if you choose accessible features, yes, you should really fill in this form. Notice the little help bubble there. When I click on that help bubble, this form is going to detail all of the accessible, that is handicap accessible features of this property. So you want the accessibility features form filled out, and then you want to upload that as a document. That PDF form that you click on the help bubble and click there to open that form will allow you to denote all of the things about the property that are accessible, like the wider doors and the wider hallways and the ramp on the side of the building, and we're even adding options for elevator and stair lift. So that form is very important if this is an accessible house, because again, it's a selling point and it's very important to the people who need those features. So that's the accessible features section right there. You select yes, and then click the help bubble to fill out the form, and then upload that PDF form to the listing. New financing, again, select all that apply. Auction, yes, no, required field. If yes, then you put in the auction date right there. I'm going to put auction no. Lot characteristics, again, very important. If you don't fill these in and someone is specifically looking for a stream on lot, they're not going to find you. If they want a wooded lot, they're going to search for this field and expect it to be filled in for all properties to which it applies. So I want to put it's a wooded lot. It has a stream on lot. It also has a pond. Scrolling down, leased items, you can say yes, no. You can do warranty. You can select all that apply there. Alternate uses, if you have any alternate uses for the property. Homestead and abatement tax. And very, very important, MLS primary photo source. Now, print without photo means that the waiver form must be filled in. You can go out to the Columbus Realtors website to the MLS section and get this photo waiver form, and that literally means your client does not want a photo in the MLS. That's what print without photo means. Now understand it's going to be harder to sell with no photo on the listing, but maybe your client is moving out of the state and they don't want to advertise with photos of their property sitting there with all their stuff still in it because they haven't moved yet, and et cetera, whatever. But if you print without photo, you must have the form on file. The only other option is realtor provided within allowable time. At time of this recording, that allowable time is 5 days from listing entry. You must have a photo on your listing. Now that sounds very quick, but understand something. 5 days is way too long. If you don't have a photo on your listing within a few seconds, or as I showed you already, upload a photo before your listing ever goes live by saving it as incomplete and then adding photos and then coming back and finishing it. Here's why. When you click on Realtor Provided, if you don't have a photo on your listing immediately, people will skip your listing because they'll see no photo, or even if you only have one photo, that's just not enough. They assume if there's not pictures of the interior, if there's not pictures of all of the rooms, something is wrong with this property. So yeah, Realtor Provided within allowable time means within 5 days according to policy, but forget that. You've got about 30 seconds from when you save it as active until people start getting it in email or they start finding it on the system and they start skipping it because it doesn't have a photo. So again, save your listing as incomplete, upload the photos, and then finish your listing so that when you save it as active, it's already got 5 or 10 photos on the listing before it ever goes live. That's my recommendation. Scrolling down. If you want to order printing services, you can do so at the bottom of this form. You just select the ones you want, and notice you can also contact the print shop for updated pricing. So you can order them here, or all the rest of these are call services. Or if you just don't want any photo services, you click No Printing Services. All right, that is the form. Again, you want to go through and verify that you filled out everything that applies to this property and you filled it out completely. Remember, you don't just skip them because they're not required, because a lot of this stuff is not required, but still very, very searchable and very, very important for the property. Now notice we've got the auto save up here. It just saved the listing as incomplete still. And at the bottom, I can click Next at the bottom right-hand corner to go on to the next page, which is the Export tab. Now on the Export tab, notice all I've got here is Seller Opt-out features, and the last two are defaulted to checked. And that is the default for everybody. Seller directs listing not to be used in AVMs. Seller directs listing not to allow comments on the internet. That's on external websites. So if you don't want it to be used in AVMs, if you don't want it to be used, comments allowed on your listing, but what if you don't want the address to be excluded, or you want the address to be excluded from the internet, excuse me, you just check that box. Now it'll show the listing and it'll show the photos and it'll show that, but it won't allow the address to be displayed. You can do that. Or if you just don't want it to go anywhere but the MLS, you don't want it to go to broker websites, you don't want to go to realtor.com, you can just check the box at the top of the Seller Opt-out screen, the Export tab, and it won't go anywhere. It'll only be on the MLS. It'll go to agents when they send their listings to their clients, but as far as going out to external websites, it won't happen. So that's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and exclude mine from the internet, but understand that means a lot less visibility for your listing. Okay, so I'm going to go down to the bottom. Now we've gone through all the tabs. We went to the General tab, we went to the Address tab, we went to the Main Fields tab, the Details tab, and the Export. And all along as we're filling it in, it's been auto-saving every few minutes a copy of this listing. So I can click Add Listing because I filled everything in. But if I want to save it as incomplete, I can certainly do that as well. I click Save as Incomplete, and now I'm going to verify what I just told you, that photos are on the listing before it goes live. Now, I already did this in a previous part 2, but I'm going to click on Photos, and maybe I want to rearrange the photos. I want to edit the photos. So I've got this set as my number 1 photo, and that's fine, but if I want to rearrange the order of these photos, I can simply click and hold and drag and drop. So I'm left clicking and holding on a photo, and to move it, I simply drag it to a new location, which is very nice and very easy. If I want to add more photos, well, we just go back to the Add Photos button at the top right-hand corner. I click on Add Photos, and maybe I want to add some more. So I click and shift-click down to number 10, so I add 5 more photos, and I click Open. And now it's going to add 5 more photos. Now, as those are loading, I'm going to go up here and remember, if you want to set a primary, you simply click on the little flag. Or if you want to rotate the image, you click on the little pigtail right here that I'm hovering over, and you can rotate it left or rotate it right. If you want to trash the photo and get rid of it, you can click the little trash can right there. I'm going to do that. I click Trash Can, and it disappears. Notice it's 1, 3, and 2 is gone, but it says right up here at the top, oop, you erased an image. Do you want to undo? And until you do the next edit, it will let you click on Undo. Now that yellow box won't stay there forever. As soon as you move around, it'll go away. But if you accidentally deleted one, click Undo. And notice number 2 is back right where it was. So you can rearrange them by dragging and dropping, but here's another way to rearrange. Maybe I want to move the number 1 photo down to the bottom to number 10 slot. Well, I could drag and drop, but that's off the screen at the bottom. So what I want to do instead of dragging and dropping is click the little arrow right up here at the top left corner of that photo box. And notice if I go to the number 2 photo, I can move it to number 7. Or if I want to go back down here and say, oh, I want to move that back up to number 2, I hover over the number 2 photo, click on the down arrow, and then when I click on the number 2 in the drop down, it moves it back up to number 2. So that's a quick way to do it. I'm going to click on number 1, and I'm going to move it to slot number 10. You might ask why I did that. Well, remember, this is not your primary photo slot right here, the number 1 slot. The primary photo is the one that's highlighted in blue. It says primary image down at the bottom of it, and it has the little blue flag right here. Okay, so this one in a blue box with primary image and the flag, that's your primary photo. So this is the first 9 photos that follow that primary photo. The primary photo will always be displayed on the reports at the top left-hand corner. Or if there's only 1 photo on the report, that will be the primary photo, regardless of what slot it's in. It could be in slot 3, slot 7, it could be slot 337. It doesn't matter because it's set as the primary. So, on the reports, if you have multiple photos on a report, if you set the primary as number 10, and then you have 9 additional photos, for example, on the Brief with Photos report, then it will have the primary at the top left-hand corner, this one, number 10, and that number doesn't mean anything, it's just the one with the blue box. And then the additional 9 photos will be number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9. That way you can have 10 unique photos on that report because the primary is always the primary. And again, how do you set the primary? You just click the little flag beside the photo. Now, if you wanted to move that back to number 1, you just click the little arrow and click 1, and it's back up at the top. And there's nothing wrong with that, but just understand on the Brief with Photos report, now you'll have the number 1 photo is the primary, so it'll be at the top left. But it's also the number 1, so when it does the 9 photos at the bottom, it'll be redundant with that number 1 photo, then number 2, number 3, number 4, etc. Okay, so we've added photos to our listing. We've edited the photos for our listing. Maybe I want to change the name at the top. So I just click in here, highlight it all, delete out what's in there right now, and say front of house. Not very creative, but you get the idea. Then I go down here and say great view. Oop, click down in the comments box down here at the bottom. And when I click in the comments box, notice the little green check box reappears. So I click in here and I say, great view of the common lake out front window. Then I click the green checkbox to save it. And then I go and I rename the next property. And I say back of house. You might want to use capitalization. Remember, this is public. Now, again, in the description, this is a public field. So what if I say call Matt at, nope, can't do that. Because, again, it's a public field and that is not allowed. Data maintenance fees will be assessed if that is found in any public field. Okay, so that's how we can change the title of the photo and the comments for the photo for each of the photos on your list. Now I'm going to go back to Edit Listing right up here at the top of the screen. And this is still an incomplete listing. Remember, we haven't even saved it as active. So I want to pull it back up and save it as active. So I click on listing information. That takes me to that same listing information form. Remember, you don't have to auto-populate tax again. You can verify on the address tab. Oh, it says load tax record. Just remember, it's already done that. It says so right here for entering a new listing. So when I click on address, there's all the information. I go through and I review all the fields that I've previously filled in. I go through the details and review them for accuracy as well. And then at the top right-hand corner, I click Add Listing. Uh-oh, 3 errors found. I didn't fill in some fields, so I click OK. And notice it takes me to the fields that I neglected to fill in. So I say VRC. What's that again? Well, I click the Help bubble. A variable rate of commission, in-house versus, okay, rules section 5.3. All right, I know what that is. I know what VRC is now, so I click on VRC. No, it's an established community. There are no additional VRC fees. I'm going to go to tenant occupied. Remember, we talked about that as well. It is a tenant living in the property, both for tenants' rights and for investors. This is a very important field. So I select no, there's not a tenant living in the property. The owner is moving out and selling the property. So I fixed the 2 errors and I click Add Listing at the top corner again. Now before I do, notice what it's showing here. Required fields only. And that's good when you've missed a few required fields. But what about all the other fields? Did you fill all those in? I would not recommend showing just empty required fields or show required fields only, because then you won't fill in all those very important fields like subdivision, like kitchen, like the fields that are levels that are not required. If you just do the required fields, you're really not doing the best you can to get the most information in your listing to make it as searchable as possible. So I recommend always using all fields, unless you get an error, and then it will automatically take you to just the empty required fields, which obviously I don't have any. So I'm going to go back to all fields, and I'm going to click Add Listing again. Uh-oh, maximum of 1 may be selected in primary photo source. Okay, well, it takes me to that field. Oh, look at that. I said print without photo and realtor provided. Can't do that. Well, mine's going to be realtor provided because I already have photos added to the listing. So I don't even need to worry about the 5-day limit because I added listings while it was listing photos, that is, while the listing was still incomplete. So again, I click Add Listing. It verifies, it finds all required fields are filled in, and it warns me, hey, there's an existing listing that looks very similar to this. I can continue to change listing screen, or I can copy it to a new listing, or I can add a new listing. I'm going to say continue to the change listing screen. I'm done. I now have an active listing. By the way, when you get a warning that says there is a duplicate of this listing on the system, you need to take that very seriously, because it may be that the listing was canceled or expired and you're adding the new listing. Or it may be that someone else entered the listing erroneously or actually failed to mark it as canceled. And that needs to happen. So keep that warning in mind when you see that warning, and make sure that there is not a duplicate listing on the system for your address that you're listing right now. All right, so the listing is live on the system. If I want to go through and change any of these, I can go down to the change screen, and we'll come back and edit some of these changes on this existing listing in the next part. So see you back here for part 4.